York State PTA, the Executive Director, Kyle. I'm not going
You don't
there.
have to. I understand, Chairman. It's a
We
tough last
wanted you to
name.
pronounce it, but none of us thought it was
Belokopitsky.
Of course.
Yes, I went from a nice Irish Catholic Kyle McCauley to Kyle Belokopitsky when I married, so.
We're so happy that parents are represented in the great job that you're doing, Kyle. Very great job.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman. I am Kyle McCauley Belokopitsky, the Executive Director of New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers, and I'm extremely proud to represent 300,000 members of New York State PTA and the families of 2.6 New York school children. Thank you to Chairman Farrell, Senator Young, Assemblywoman Nolan, Senator Marcelino, and other members of the legislature for your interest in attendance today. I will not read our testimony, but will briefly summarize a few points. New York schools have amazing successes, and I'm a proud public school parent. We have more students taking advanced placement examinations, more Intel Science and Seaman Award winners than most states. Our students excel in career and technical education. They perform and create amazing works of art. However, our challenges are real too. While some school districts have declining enrollment, more than 200 school districts show growth in New York. We have some of the biggest city school districts and some of the smallest rural schools. More than 50% of our students in New York now live in some level of poverty, half of them qualifying for free or reduced price lunch. And many students have special learning or education needs. Our schools welcome thousands of L students, some with interrupted formal education, some as unaccompanied minors who speak more than 200 languages in our schools. More than 100,000 students are homeless or living in temporary housing, and our schools continue to do more with less, trying each and every day to move a child on a pathway to good citizenship and graduation. The need to provide students and schools with resources has never been more important. And New York State PTA calls for a $2.0 billion increase in school aid, to include $1.5 billion for current school services and $500 million to address priority programs. We are greatly concerned with proposed changes to the school aid formula, which eliminates the predictability necessary to plan for future school aid calculations. We do not support the proposal to use the previous year's foundation aid as a base, especially because it does not include the previous fiscal shortfalls of more than $4 with $1 billion. We also join in calls for tax cap reforms, common sense exemptions, and at least a real 2% levy limit. On English language learners and their families, near and dear to PTA heart, New York State has long been the gateway for immigrant success and the door to the American dream. Adequately supporting our L students and their families is most important, and we ask that you consider additional dedicated funding for L students and unaccompanied minor students, as well as review of the costs of Part 154, accelerated teacher training for all educators in supporting L students, and expanded capacity to provide translation services for key parent documents and other materials. New York State PTA proudly has begun to translate our own documents in Spanish, 3 dialects of Chinese, and Arabic, with more languages to come. We also continue to call for more physical support and programmatic services for our students with disabilities and their families, and look forward to doing this work with you together. On family engagement, parent and family engagement is a key indicator for success of a child, and thankfully the new federal Every Student Succeed Act mandates parental involvement in education. New York State PTA strongly supports continued investments in services, programs, and policies that lead to effective family engagement in our schools. On community schools, we know that they are an effective strategy for student success. While there is a $50 million set aside and included in the foundation aid increase, we support sustained funding for struggling and persistently struggling schools, and we continue to be concerned about the punitive nature of the current receivership model. Importantly, all schools should be afforded the opportunity to transform their schools into community hubs. On after-school and pre-K, nearly 500,000 school-age children in New York are without a safe and/or educational after-school program. We support the $35 million allocation to fund the Empire State After-School Program. However, support is also needed across the state in all areas. And we know that high-quality, free, and low-cost pre-kindergarten for both 3- and 4-year-old children is critically important. We support both the consolidation of pre-K funding streams and increases in this funding. on early college, high schools, and career and technical education. This is an investment in both the economic future of our state and our children, as 90% of CTE students graduate with a Regents diploma. New York State PTA fully supports expansion of early college, high school programs. We also support expansion for CTE in relevant legislation, including the Nolan-Ritchie bill, amending the current aid formula for both CTE programs and supports for special services aid. And lastly, on the whole child, which is not at the education table, we fully support the proposal which requires regulation of electronic cigarettes in the same manner as tobacco products. We look forward to working with the legislature to fully ban the advertising and marketing and sale of electronic cigarettes to our children. We also support the $30 million increase to combat the heroin epidemic and recommend an additional $15 million over the executive budget. As we all know, that heroin and prescription opiates continue to devastate families and communities. In conclusion, we need to continue to build on the success of our community through investments and support for our key resources, our children. Every parent has a dream for their child. I know I have a dream for Jackson, and it's our job to be dream makers. We humbly ask that you continue to infuse schools and families with the tools and resources necessary to accelerate the success of our children and our families. Together, we can make every child's potential a reality, and there is no other more important than work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are finished. Until tomorrow at night.